It's likely that most people of European descent, especially those in the Northern Hemisphere or who speak a Germanic language, have heard of the Brothers Grimm. But how many of us actually know much about the brothers themselves? In this episode, we take a brief yet fascinating dive into the lives of two of the most influential figures in modern literature. Join me as we explore the story behind the Brothers Grimm. Welcome, wanderers of the night, to Petra's dark and dreamy, where shadows dance and dreams drift through the twilight. I'm Petra, your guide through this realm where the boundaries of reality blur and the mystical becomes tangible. Tonight, we plunge into the depths of the unknown, exploring stories that shimmer in the darkness and ideas that echo through the silence. So, find a cozy nook, let the world outside fade away, and prepare to embark on a journey where the night is always young and the dreams are endlessly alluring. Are you ready to embrace the dark and the dreamy? Then let's begin. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, two of the most iconic figures in the history of literature and folklore, are best known for their groundbreaking collection of German folk tales, Grimm's Fairy Tales, which has left an indelible mark on both literature and popular culture. Born in the late 18th century in Hanau, Germany, the brothers were raised in a time of social and political upheaval, yet their deep love for stories, languages, and cultural heritage shaped their intellectual pursuits. Over the course of their lives, the Grimms not only collected hundreds of traditional tales, but also made pivotal contributions to the fields of linguistics, philology, and medieval studies. Their work continues to influence scholars and storytellers around the world today, but their journey was not without personal sacrifice, political challenges, and profound dedication to preserving the folk traditions of Germany. In this episode, we will trace the remarkable lives of Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, exploring their academic achievements, their passion for folklore, and the enduring legacy they created through their pioneering work. Jacob Ludwig Karl Grimm was born on January 4th, 1785 in Hanau, Germany, the first son of Philipp Wilhelm Grimm, a lawyer and court official, and his wife Dorothea Zimmer. Just over a year later, on February 24, 1786, his younger brother, Wilhelm Karl Grimm, was born in the same town. In 1791, the Grimm family moved to Steinau an der Straße, where Philipp Grimm had been appointed as a district magistrate. During this time, the family enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle, maintaining a large house with servants and being prominent members of the local community. Dorothea, the mother of Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, as the matriarch, managed the household and took an active role in raising their children. She employed private tutors to provide education at home and later sent the children to school for a classical education once they were of age. Dorothea was a strong advocate for her children's education. A devout Lutheran, Dorothea instilled strong religious values within the family, shaping the moral and spiritual foundation of her children. We might wonder this based on the gore of the stories that we will be getting into in the next few episodes. She even wrote to the government to secure special permission for her sons to attend the University of Marburg, a move that set the stage for their lifelong dedication to German folklore. This early support helped shape their scholarly pursuits, which later led to their world-changing work in linguistics and fairy tales. Scholars suggest that Dorothea's influence extended beyond education into the Grimm brothers' views on motherhood and in their fairy tales. Dorothea held motherhood in high regard and was deeply devoted to her children, which may have inspired the brothers to idealize the concept of the biological mother. This reverence for motherhood is thought to have influenced the brothers' decision to revise the maternal villains in their stories. In earlier versions of tales like Snow White and Hansel and Gretel, the wicked characters were often depicted as biological mothers who were cruel or neglectful. However, in later editions, the Grimms changed these figures into wicked stepmothers. This shift likely reflects their desire to preserve the sacred, revered image of the biological mother, as embodied by Dorothea, while still maintaining the narrative's moral tension. The Grimms could uphold the ideal of the quote-unquote good mother while still conveying the necessary moral lessons of their stories. Tragically, in 1796, Dorothea's husband, Philip Wilhelm Grimm, died of pneumonia at the age of 44, throwing the family into financial hardship. With the loss of his income, the family had to give up their large home and servants. Dorothea, left to raise her children, relied on her father, Johann, and her sister, Henriette, who was the first lady-in-waiting at the court of William I, Elector of Hesse, for financial support. In 1798, at the ages of 13 and 14, Jacob and Wilhelm were sent to live with an aunt in Kassel, their mother's hometown, to attend secondary school. It was during this time that Dorothea wrote to the government to secure special permission for her sons to attend the University of Marburg. At 17 years of age, in 1802, Jacob began studying law at the University of Marburg, as his father had intended. Also at this time, Wilhelm suffered from a severe and prolonged illness. Though the exact nature of this illness is not definitively known, some sources suggest that it might have been a case of scarlet fever, which was common in Europe at that time and could have caused significant health problems, especially if it was not treated promptly or effectively. The illness was so serious that it delayed his studies and kept him from joining his brother until the following year, 1803. While their academic path was originally shaped by their father's wishes, their interests eventually shifted toward linguistics and folklore, which led to their lifelong passion for collecting and preserving German folktales. In 1806, Jacob and Wilhelm were influenced by the folk poetry collection of Clemens Brentano and Achim von Arnim, Des Knaben Wunderhorn, and began to collect their own folktales, which are also called Märchen. Only 2 years after leaving for school, so when the boys were 19 and 18 respectively, Dorothea died on May 27, 1808, at the young age of 52. The exact cause of her death is not definitively recorded, but it is believed that she died from complications related to a long-standing illness, or perhaps a combination of stress and grief following the early deaths of several of her children. There were 9 children in the Grimm household, although 3 of them died as infants less than 1 year old. There were 8 boys and 1 girl, and the girl is not one of the children that passed away as an infant. At the time of her death, Jacob was 23 and Wilhelm was 22, and they were still living with their mother in Kassel. Her passing marked a turning point in the brothers' lives, as Jacob took on a larger role in supporting the family, eventually taking a position as a librarian in Kassel. Only 4 years later, at the ages of 27 and 26, in 1812, the Grimm brothers published Volume 1 of Kinder- und Hausmärchen, or Children's and Household Tales, commonly known as Grimm's Fairy Tales. This unpretentious collection contained 86 numbered folk tales, marking the beginning of their iconic work in preserving German folklore. 2 years later, in 1814, they released Volume 2 of Grimm's Fairy Tales, adding another 70 stories to the first volume. This expanded collection would go on to see 6 more editions during the Grimm's lifetimes. By the final version, it contained 200 numbered stories plus 10 quote-unquote children's legends, solidifying it as the most influential book ever created in the German language. In 1816 and 1818, the Grimms further cemented their legacy with the publication of 2 volumes of Deutschsagen, a collection of 585 German legends. These works, alongside Grimm's fairy tales, became cornerstone texts in the study of folklore and the cultural heritage of Germany. In addition to the fairy tales, the brothers' work on linguistics was groundbreaking. Their German dictionary, Deutsches Wörterbuch, became one of the most ambitious projects of its kind, and they also made significant contributions to the field of comparative linguistics, particularly in their formulation of Grimm's Law, which described the systematic sound changes in the Germanic languages. In 1819, Jacob and Wilhelm were awarded honorary doctorates from the University of Marburg, recognizing their groundbreaking scholarly work in linguistics, folklore, and medieval studies. Their research continued to expand, resulting in numerous publications that would shape the future of these fields. In 1825, Wilhelm Grimm married Henriette Dorothea, or Dorchen, Wild. Dorchen was a key figure in the Grimm's collections of folk tales, which became integral to the Grimm's fairy tales collection. Dorchen's family, particularly her father, was also a source of some of the tales the brothers collected. Wilhelm and Dorchen's relationship was deeply influenced by their shared love of folklore and their long intellectual collaboration. Despite their deep bond, their marriage was somewhat delayed. They had been engaged for many years before finally marrying, largely due to Wilhelm's financial difficulties and his focus on his academic work. They had 4 children together, but their family life was not without hardships. Dorchen was often in poor health, which may have contributed to the long wait for their marriage. In 1829 to 1830, the Grimm's brothers resigned their positions as librarians in Kassel and accepted positions at the University of Göttingen. While the Grimm brothers are mainly remembered for their contributions to folklore and linguistics, their lives were also intertwined with significant political events. A 4-year-long protest took place against the King of Hanover, Ernst August, who had violated the Constitution by abolishing the liberal reforms of the state. The protest, in which Jacob and Wilhelm participated, took place between 1837 and 1841 and was led by a group of 7 professors at the University of Göttingen. The Göttingen Seven, which included well-known scholars such as the Grimms, Georg Gottfried Gervinus, and Heinrich Ewald, opposed this move and publicly criticized the king's unconstitutional action. In response to their protest, the professors were dismissed from their positions at the University of Göttingen, and the event became a significant moment in the history of academic and political resistance in Germany. The brothers' public defiance was a rare political stand, which, despite the personal and professional consequences, reflected their commitment to justice and academic freedom. Despite their dismissal, the Grimm's brothers received several offers for new positions and eventually accepted appointments at the University of Berlin. For the next 10 years, from 1842 to 1852, the Grimms continued their scholarly work and political activities, but finally gave up their formal appointments at the University of Berlin, Jacob in 1848 and Wilhelm in 1852, in order to dedicate themselves to their own studies and research. But only 7 years after retiring, in 1859, Wilhelm died at the age of 73, and 4 years after Wilhelm's passing, Jacob died at the age of 78. We have covered a couple of German or Nordic folklore. You can listen to a New Year's story about Petra or an original Krampus tale that were published at the end of 2024. And I am excited to get into actual Grimm's fairy tales. Often considered the most violent Grimm's fairy tale, please enjoy The Juniper Tree by Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. Don't wander off. We'll be right back.
When you're alone in your house, but you'd like to feel like you're not, the podcast inside your house can keep you company. Our show will make sure that you run up the stairs at night when you turn off the lights and check under your bed before you sleep. We'll bring you every kind of horror, from the classics like Lovecraft and Poe to the strange and often silly world of no sleep and creepypastas. We've even got stories written just for the show that you won't hear anywhere else. So go and check out the podcast inside your house. We're on all major platforms, as well as inside your pantry, deep in your crawl space, and sitting at the foot of your bed at night, watching you sleep.
Long ago, at least 2,000 years, there was a rich man who had a beautiful and pious wife, and they loved each other dearly. However, they had no children, though they wished very much to have some, and the woman prayed for them day and night, but they didn't get any. They didn't get any, and they didn't get any. In front of their house, there was a courtyard where there stood a juniper tree. One day in winter, the woman was standing beneath it, peeling herself an apple, and while she was thus peeling the apple, she cut her finger, and the blood fell into the snow. "Oh," said the woman. She sighed heavily, looked at the blood before her, and was most unhappy. "If only I had a child as red as blood and as white as snow." And as she said that, she became quite contented and felt sure that it was going to happen. Then she went into the house, and a month went by, and the snow was gone, and 2 months, and everything was green, and 3 months, and all the flowers came out of the earth, and 4 months, and all the trees in the woods grew thicker, and the green branches were all entwined in one another, and the birds sang until the woods resounded and the blossoms fell from the trees. Then the 5th month passed, and she stood beneath the juniper tree, which smelled so sweet that her heart jumped for joy, and she fell on her knees and was beside herself. And when the 6th month was over, the fruit was thick and large, and then she was quite still. And after the 7th month, she picked the juniper berries and ate them greedily. Then she grew sick and sorrowful. Then the 8th month passed, and she called her husband to her and cried and said, "If I die, then bury me beneath the juniper tree." Then she was quite comforted and happy until the next month was over, and then she had a child as white as snow and as red as blood. And when she saw it, she was so happy that she died. Her husband buried her beneath the juniper tree, and he began to cry bitterly. After some time, he was more at ease, and although he still cried, he could bear it. And some time later, he took another wife. He had a daughter by the second wife, but the first wife's child was a little son, and he was as red as blood and as white as snow. When the woman looked at her daughter, she loved her very much. But then she looked at the little boy, and it pierced her heart, for she thought that he would always stand in her way, and she was always thinking how she could get the entire inheritance for her daughter. And the evil one filled her mind with this until she grew very angry with the little boy, and she pushed him from one corner to the other and slapped him here and cuffed him there, until the poor child was always afraid, for when he came home from school, there was nowhere he could find any peace. One day, the woman had gone upstairs to her room when her little daughter came up too and said, "Mother, give me an apple." "Yes, my child," said the woman, and gave her a beautiful apple out of the chest. The chest had a large, heavy lid with a large, sharp iron lock. "Mother," said the little daughter, "is brother not to have one too?" This made the woman angry, but she said, "Yes, when he comes home from school." When from the window she saw him coming, it was as though the evil one came over her, and she grabbed the apple and took it away from her daughter, saying, "You shall not have one before your brother." She threw the apple into the chest and shut it. Then the little boy came in the door, and the evil one made her say to him kindly, "My son, do you want an apple?" And she looked at him fiercely. "Mother," said the little boy, "how angry you look. Yes, give me an apple." Then it seemed to her as if she had to persuade him. "Come with me," she said, opening the lid of the chest. "Take out an apple for yourself." And while the little boy was leaning over, the evil one prompted her, and crash! She slammed down the lid, and his head flew off, falling among the red apples. Then fear overcame her, and she thought, maybe I can get out of this. So she went upstairs to her room to her chest of drawers and took a white scarf out of the top drawer and set the head on the neck again, tying the scarf around so that nothing could be seen. Then she set him on a chair in front of the door and put the apple in his hand. After this, her daughter, whose name was Marlene, came into the kitchen to her mother, who was standing by the fire with a pot of hot water before her, which she was stirring around and around. "Mother," said Marlene, "brother is sitting at the door, and he looks totally white and has an apple in his hand. I asked him to give me the apple, but he did not answer me, and I was very frightened." "Go back to him," said her mother, "and if he will not answer you, then box his ears. So Marlene went to him and said, "Brother, give me the apple." But he was silent. So she gave him one on the ear, and his head fell off. Marlene was terrified and began crying and screaming and ran to her mother and said, "Oh, mother, I have knocked my brother's head off." And she cried and could not be comforted. "Marlene," said the mother, "what have you done?" "Be quiet and don't let anyone know about it. It cannot be helped now. We will cook him into stew." Then the mother took the little boy and chopped him in pieces and put him into the pot and cooked him into stew. But Marlene stood by crying, and all her tears fell into the pot, and they did not need any salt. Then the father came home and sat down at the table and said, "Where is my son?" And the mother served up a large dish of stew, and Marlene cried and could not stop. Then the father said again, "Where is my son?" "Oh," said the mother, "he has gone across the country to his mother's great uncle. He will stay there a while." "What is he doing there? He did not even say goodbye to me." "Oh, he wanted to go and asked me if he could stay 6 weeks. He will be well taken care of there." "Oh," said the man, "I am unhappy. It isn't right. He should have said goodbye to me." With that, he began to eat, saying, "Marlene, why are you crying? Your brother will certainly come back." Then he said, "Wife, this food is delicious. Give me some more." And the more he ate, the more he wanted. And he said, "Give me some more. You two shall have none of it. It seems to me as if it were all mine." And he ate and ate, throwing all the bones under the table until he had finished it all. Marlene went to her chest of drawers, took her best silk scarf from the bottom drawer, and gathered all the bones from beneath the table and tied them up in her silk scarf, then carried them outside the door, crying tears of blood. She laid them down beneath the juniper tree on the green grass, and after she had put them there, she suddenly felt better and did not cry anymore. Then the juniper tree began to move. The branches moved apart, then moved together again, just as if someone were rejoicing and clapping his hands. At the same time, a mist seemed to rise from the tree, and in the center of this mist it burned like a fire, and a beautiful bird flew out of the fire, singing magnificently. And it flew high into the air, and when it was gone, the juniper tree was just as it had been before, and the cloth with the bones was no longer there. Marlene, however, was as happy and contented as if her brother were still alive, and she went merrily into the house, sat down at the table, and ate. Then the bird flew away and lit on a goldsmith's house and began to sing, "My mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. My sister Marlene gathered all my bones, tied them in a silken scarf, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I." The goldsmith was sitting in his workshop making a golden chain. When he heard the bird sitting on his roof and singing, the song seemed very beautiful to him. He stood up, but as he crossed the threshold, he lost one of his slippers. However, he went right up the middle of the street with only one slipper and one sock on. He had his leather apron on, and in one hand he had a golden chain, and in the other his tongs. The sun was shining brightly on the street. He walked onward, then stood still and said to the bird, "Bird," he said, "how beautifully you can sing. Sing that piece again for me." "No," said the bird, "I do not sing twice for nothing. Give me the golden chain, and then I will sing it again for you." The goldsmith said, "Here is the golden chain for you. Now sing that song again for me." Then the bird came and took the golden chain in its right claw and went and sat in front of the goldsmith and sang, "My mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. My sister Marlene gathered all my bones, tied them in a silken scarf, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I." Then the bird flew away to a shoemaker and lit on his roof and sang, "My mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. My sister Marlene gathered all my bones, tied them in a silken scarf, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I. Hearing this, the shoemaker ran out of doors in his shirt sleeves and had to hold his hand in front of his eyes to keep the sun from blinding him. Bird, said he, how beautifully you can sing. Then he called in at his door, Wife, come outside. There is a bird here. Look at this bird. He certainly can sing. Then he called his daughter and her children, and the journeyman, and the apprentice, and the maid. And they all came out into the street and looked at the bird and saw how beautiful he was, and what fine red and green feathers he had, and how his neck was like pure gold, and how his eyes shone like stars in his head. Bird, said the shoemaker, now sing that song again for me. No, said the bird, I do not sing twice for nothing. You must give me something. Wife, said the man, go into the shop. There is a pair of red shoes on the top shelf. Bring them down. Then the wife went and brought the shoes. There, bird, said the man. Now sing that piece again for me. Then the bird came and took the shoes in his left claw and flew back to the roof and sang, My mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. My sister Marlene gathered all my bones, tied them in a silken scarf, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I. When he had finished his song, he flew away. In his right claw he had the chain, and in his left one the shoes. He flew far away to a mill, and the mill went clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. In the mill sat 20 miller's apprentices cutting a stone and chiseling chip-chop, chip-chop, chip-chop. And the mill went clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Then the bird went and sat on a linden tree which stood in front of the mill and sang, My mother, she killed me. Then one of them stopped working. My father, he ate me. Then 2 more stopped working and listened. My sister Marlene, then 4 more stopped, gathered all my bones, tied them in a silken scarf. Now only 8 were chiseling, laid them beneath, now only 5, the juniper tree, now only 1. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I. Then the last one stopped also, and heard the last words. Bird, said he, how beautifully you sing. Let me hear that too. Sing it once more for me. No, said the bird, I do not sing twice for nothing. Give me the millstone, and then I will sing it again. Yes, he said, if it belonged only to me, you should have it. Yes, said the others, if he sings again, he can have it. Then the bird came down, and the 20 millers took a beam and lifted the stone up. The bird stuck his neck through the hole and put the stone on as if it were a collar, then flew to the tree again and sang, My mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. My sister Marlene gathered all my bones, tied them in a silken scarf, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I. When he was finished singing, he spread his wings, and in his right claw he had the chain, and in his left one the shoes, and around his neck the millstone. He flew far away to his father's house. In the room, the father, the mother, and Marlene were sitting at the table. The father said, I feel so contented. I am so happy. Not I, said the mother. I feel uneasy, just as if a bad storm were coming. But Marlene just sat and cried and cried. Then the bird flew up, and as it seated itself on the roof, the father said, Oh, I feel so truly happy, and the sun is shining so beautifully outside. I feel as if I were about to see some old acquaintance again. Not I, said the woman. I am so afraid that my teeth are chattering, and I feel like I have fire in my veins. And she tore open her bodice even more. Marlene sat in a corner crying. She held a handkerchief before her eyes and cried until it was wet clear through. Then the bird seated itself on the juniper tree and sang, "My mother, she killed me." The mother stopped her ears and shut her eyes, not wanting to see or hear. But there was a roaring in her ears like the fiercest storm, and her eyes burned and flashed like lightning. "My father, he ate me." "Oh, mother," said the man, "that is a beautiful bird. He is singing so splendidly, and the sun is shining so warmly, and it smells like pure cinnamon." "My sister Marlene." Then Marlene laid her head on her knees and cried and cried. But the man said, "I am going out. I must see the bird up close." "Don't go," said the woman. "I feel as if the whole house were shaking and on fire." But the man went out and looked at the bird, gathered all my bones, tied them in a silken scarf, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I. With this, the bird dropped the golden chain, and it fell right around the man's neck, so exactly around it that it fit beautifully. Then the man went in and said, "Just look what a beautiful bird that is, and what a beautiful golden chain he has given me, and how nice it looks." But the woman was terrified. She fell down on the floor in the room, and her cap fell off her head. Then the bird sang once more, "My mother killed me. I wish I were 1,000 fathoms beneath the earth, so I would not have to hear that. My father, he ate me." Then the woman fell down as if she were dead. My sister Marlene. "Oh," said Marlene, "I too will go out and see if the bird will give me something." Gathered all my bones, tied them in a silken scarf. He threw the shoes down to her, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I. Then she was contented and happy. She put on the new red shoes and danced and leaped into the house. "Oh," she said, "I was so sad when I went out, and now I am so contented. That is a splendid bird. He has given me a pair of red shoes." "No," said the woman, jumping to her feet and with her hair standing up like flames of fire. "I feel as if the world were coming to an end. I too will go out and see if it makes me feel better." And as she went out the door, crash! The bird threw the millstone on her head, and it crushed her to death. The father and Marlene heard it and went out. Smoke, flames, and fire were rising from the place. And when that was over, the little brother was standing there, and he took his father and Marlene by the hand, and all three were very happy. And they went into the house, sat down at the table, and ate. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. Your support means the world to me, and I'm so grateful you've joined me on this journey. If you enjoyed the podcast, please take a moment to leave a review, whether on your favorite podcast platform or wherever you listen. Your feedback helps the show grow, and it lets others discover the stories we're sharing. Be sure to like, follow, download, and subscribe to support the show. If you are one of the first 100 subscribers, you can request your favorite literature read by me, Petra. Until next time, take care. I can't wait to see you back for the next episode, and sweet sleep. Keep sleeping soundly. Keep sleeping soundly. Don't let me wake you. It's Petra. I'm stopping by to tell you why I use Buy Me a Coffee to connect with my audience and grow my podcast. As a podcaster, Buy Me a Coffee has been a game changer for me. It's the easiest way for my listeners to support the show directly, whether through one-time donations or monthly memberships. The best part is that I get to keep it simple and focus on creating content. I love it because I can unlock steady income with membership tiers and recurring support. I share exclusive content, behind-the-scenes moments, and early access just for my supporters, and there are no complicated setups or hidden fees for you or for me. For you listeners, you can show your love with a simple click and also get special perks, shout-outs, and bonus content in return. You want to support the show? Click the link in the show notes to support the show. And be sure to tell everyone that you love Petra's Dark and Dreamy.